TELOS by Brian Geever. Foreword. Hello and welcome back to the innards of my mental labyrinth, the plots within a maze fit for all ages to invite themselves into. Here you stumble onto the characters and plots that align from the earliest points of my career. The original version of this novel, TELOS, launched on March 19th, 2013. This I remember clearly, as I just finished celebrating my birthday the day before, and saw the end in sight of the original manuscript. Back then, my novels were uploaded shortly after being completed without too harsh an editing process. Grammar would be checked, spelling corrected, but that was usually as far as it went. Now, nearly 9 years later as of this writing, I can say much of my process has changed. And now, 10 years later, as of recording this, many portions remain the same. I still sit in a comfortable seat, as though that seat itself may change, and the computer that which I type on has changed, yet still the ideas of my original novels cannot leave my brain alone, as I have rewritten and expanded the first and third novels of the original Promethean trilogy. TELOS was always the scary one. It was the shortest of the original three, but it was the origin of my novel story. I've described the story in other forewords before, but I guess with repetition comes appreciation. The first story that I finished from beginning to end was titled Zero. The novel was in reality split into 4 novellas that acted similar to seasons of a TV show, telling the beginning and end of each part in the story in full. It wasn't good, and has some exclusive characters that don't show up in the heavily revised and rewritten novel as it was, TELOS. With all that aside, before we can move on to that little treat, I would like to thank quite a few people. First and foremost, the closest to my heart is my fiancée, Hannah. Without you, my motivation tries and dies. My ever-loving support, and with who I desire for the story to never end. Next, my close friends and fine supporters, who through these past few years have offered their kind and generous support. They are listed below and in no particular order, but know that your help is eternally appreciated. Thank you, Dr. C, Sheena, Jester, Gaia, Lachis, Cedric-X, and Endag. Part 1. Anamnesis. Memorial Sacrifice. Chapter 1. June 28th, 2018. Athens, Ohio, Lancaster Ave. The worst time of the year was when all the bugs came out, tiny specks of insignificant life that only exist to piss me off. Summer isn't my favorite season as it is, but when you introduce the scourge of humankind as a daily obstacle, you can be sure I try my hardest to be away from them as much as possible. Of course, not having a roof over my head makes that touch more difficult than it does for most people. Those of us that remain, at least. The world is a much different place nowadays. Fighting, starving, dying. It's all equal parts suffering around these parts. It's hard not to find your next meal without having to worry if the place you rest your head is off to be your last. Of course, now the flies for competition with the available food out there. Summers are always the worst. And while I've had some easier summers when I was able to camp out at broken down businesses that had larger food reserves than normal, out here, this summer, I was all on my own. There was a temptation to raid the campus nearby. It'd be familiar. It was where I was going to undergrad before. Well, before. It was hardly tempting. I still had a lot of my old stuff there. We all had to evacuate once the boiler in the science building blew. Some people thought it was a terrorist attack. Those have been increasing in the public eye. It's almost laughable now, thinking about the situation that snowballed over the complete evacuation of the school. I learned about it a few weeks later from a source who was live on the scene. Apparently, a pair of stoners snuck into the science lab because they knew it was going to be empty at that point of the day. Turns out, it wasn't, and there was a bit of a conflict between them. My source, a guy named Isaac who had been working late on a project, was a bit of a stickler for places being used for intended purposes. Turns out the 2 fine gentlemen were sticklers for places for being used as smoking spots. Arguments erupted, and I can't confirm who touched who first, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of the other guys shoved first. Now, if that had been that, nothing further from some hurt egos would have left that building. Unfortunately, one of those shoves led to Isaac falling backward against his table. I don't know quite the mixture was he was working with, but I guess that isn't wholly important. I don't have to paint the whole picture here. Yeah, building went boom. Of course, it was more like the room went boom, but it was just the state of what went bad. You see, whatever was in those containers wasn't healthy for the rest of us when they combined, and air travel on a college campus is very troublesome indeed. A few of the people who hung around the area after cleanup started, well, they started getting sick. If that was it, it would have only called for a quarantine and a lockdown. Things progressed when the first murder came about. Those people became feral. Sounds like the start of a post-apocalyptic zombie story, right? Well, things progressed from there. All in all, there were about 20 people that were seriously affected. And when the second case went feral, the entire campus shut down. Everyone was evacuated out. Wasn't much of a police force to take down the creatures those people became, so they just remained and haunted the halls, surviving in whatever they could get their hands on. I caught up with Isaac a while back near a bar a few times over. He was a poor sight, felt guilty as hell for picking a fight that day, drowning himself in all the warm booze he could find. I don't know if he recognized me. Hell, I don't even know if he knew I was there, but he sure as hell regretted a lot. That's when I learned to avoid carrying regret as much as I could. Never regret so your burden never gets heavier than what you can carry. My proverbial pack on my back only allows what I can hold and no more. Others may find that coarse. They may use rougher words than that, and to that, I said, fuck that. When you're out here in the summer heat, getting sucked alive by the mosquitoes and fighting for your next meal from the flies, you can carry whatever the fuck you think you need to carry. And yet, I cannot deny that carrying some of my old shit from my room, like some new clothes or some of the snacks I squirreled away that haven't spoiled, was still heavily tempting. And it really is quite muggy outside. I must apologize for that. You see, I've got this thing with me. There was this doctor at the orphanage I used to visit. Before I went to college, of course, and they did all sorts of tests and such. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I was around that age, you know, where anything adults said goes in one ear, not the other. Anyway, they said I had a high rate of survival, so it wasn't anything, like, bad, I guess. That's why I didn't stick to remembering what they said it was. Just know what it does to me. Sometimes my mind likes to create side tangents of thought that run alongside the main one. It's the best way I can really explain it. I'm not used to really talking about it, really. I've pretty much got it under control everywhere, to the point where it isn't running multiple conversations simultaneously. That was a real headache inducer. I shower. You know, I think I might head to the campus after all. If I'm quick enough, I can snag for a good meal. I could use some time away from smelling like a plumber's handkerchief anyway. Huh. Did I read that somewhere? That's odd. Not the kind of metaphor I'd normally think of on my own. Might have been a King novel or something. He tends to write those kinds of physical grotesqueries. Oh, I almost forgot to introduce myself. My bad. My name's Gavin, and I absolutely love long walks on the beach. That should be enough for you to know, right? I'm not too good at this. I know. But then again, I guess if I was, then I'd be in a much different spot than I am now. I might be dead. People who care too much about presentation often miss the small things that end up biting them in the ass. People aren't really my thing. I guess that's another deciding factor on why I was going to the school. Because my last-ditch effort here was the street was stopped because of people. Remember that bar I told you about? Well, I was gonna hide out there for a bit, raid the stash that someone else had prepared, but not gotten the chance to take an opportunity of. But a real rough gang of pricks showed up. Came in, I managed to just get away before they shot Isaac. Put him out of his misery, I guess. Getting away and surviving has always been a skill of mine. I don't tend to rely on others, so I'm not slowed down. shit starts to go down and I'm gone. I'm rather thin and relatively fast on my feet. It definitely helps in the new environment. They've since gone and locked themselves in, most likely drinking themselves away. I'm not a fan of alcoholics either, by the way, so you can check that off on my eHarmony profile. But a nice drink wouldn't be terrible right now. Sadly, I have to accept the loss of the bar. I'm much too little of one man to take on 5 brutes who are more aggressive if they're drunk. It is quite the shame, though. I hike up the straps in my backpack and begin to walk down the street. I keep very little with me. Well, of course, because I have very little, but that should be changing real soon if things go my way. Across the street from the bar is when the air starts to change. It seems to become heavier, pungent in taste. If I had anything in my stomach, I'm sure I'd hurl it up. So it's good I don't, I guess. Doesn't stop the dry heaving, but I'd rather that than burning my throat out. Life's all about thinking about the positives, you see? Nice shower. It would certainly be nice to have a nice shower. It would... I reach the fence. It's almost 3 times my height. You might think it's a normal fence, but then again, you aren't native to these parts. Not like the few around here. Not like me. Everybody around here knows to stay away. This is what separates us normies from the vultures. It's almost a blessing they haven't figured out how to climb yet. Must not have clicked. To be able to grasp filed objects and pull up. Well, whatever's keeping them on that side doesn't really matter now. I'm going over. I toss the backpack over the side of the fence. It lands doubled over itself. I grasp the wires of the fence and stick my feet through the holes, letting my toes wrap themselves around as I reach up and grab at a higher point. I'm up halfway and grip into the metal, reaching my hand now over the top of the bar, and then my elbow, then using that to balance my weight as I pull myself over the fence. I used to be so much better looking. I don't mean to brag, but now I feel like any stray gust of wind could pick me up and blow me away, far away from this place, far away from this life. Once I'm clear, I drop down and tumble right next to my bag. The landing hurts my feet a bit, but I think I may have landed on a rock or something. I stand up and grab my pack and sling it across my back and begin walking. It's going to be a lot more quiet as I continue. I'm not going to be singing that creepy kid who's been killing the rats, or the woman who digs through the garbage to keep her and her enlarged stomach satisfied. They were sights of what the area here does to people. I'm betting absolutely everything right here and the levels of contamination are low enough around my dorm. I'm sure the first to come through here, since nobody really wants to be the guinea pig to throw their life away. I don't care either way. That's why I'm even entertaining the thought of your presence. I see the library first. I recognize it now, even after the top floors were scarred by the fires. That happened a while back before the evacuation. I don't think that was one of the stoners' faults, as almost humorous as that would be. As far as I can remember, that happened as an intentional act that spread far out of control. Med student named Jamie Throughton broke down and freaked. Her grades weren't up to what she needed. Instead of taking responsibility for her failure, she just wanted to torch the place and hated it most. The place she spent so much of her time and actively looked to squeeze as much out of her as possible. The top floor is destroyed, but the building survived. Jamie was burned pretty bad in the event. She was quickly enveloped in the blaze that spiraled out of control. Not only was she expelled for the action, but was also brought on federal charges of arson. Can't say I don't know the stresses that could push someone to that point, but to so fruitlessly kill any chance of survival or recovery. I couldn't imagine being locked up in a shitty place as that. I have my own frustrations at the expectations others place on me, but instead of going up in flames, I choose to rebuke any and all that come my way. Anything that doesn't push me forward, that doesn't lead me to my next meal, gets shucked and tossed aside. Looking at the scars that formed so short a time ago in the library, I do feel a certain sadness for the knowledge that was lost. People come and they go. They don't really have much to offer that another similar person can't provide, but the books, those are priceless. Sounds awful. Just the times we live in. No easy replacement for knowledge. And knowledge is what keeps the dead from the dying. We're all dying, but we're not all dead. Maybe I could stop by and see if I find anything that survived the blaze, although that would have to add to the number of buildings I had to visit, and unlike the dorm I was heading to, it wasn't secured, so I'd be a target for as long as I was out in the open. I looked past the library, deciding against going in. I stuck around the back, walking on the tiled walkway leading through the perimeter of the campus. I peeked through the slits of the alleys into the quad, a large open field where the students would have sat and studied. It was an odd sight seeing it so empty. This place is one of the most popular when things were close to normal. Nothing to be gained from here, as even the trees have been picked clean, skeletal fingers that stretched to the sky. It was a horrible thought to think how the vultures managed to get their fix from the leaves. They definitely didn't climb, that much is clear from their inability to make it over the fence. They must have knocked all the leaves down by throwing themselves against the trees, and suddenly, my body had a phantom ache inside. I remember on the large tree in the center, we would all gang up on Halloween and completely cover the branches of the tree with toilet paper. It was some tradition that was started eons ago that continued up to the very end, but it seems like all the excess toilet paper has been recycled for some other use. It was definitely odd that the vultures ate their way through the leaves but left the toilet paper well enough alone. I guess some human tendencies remained after turning feral. Things seem to be okay so far. I'm quite a ways away from the science building. I haven't started retching from the air as much as I thought I would be, so I have high hopes for chances of me stocking up. Maybe I might be able to spend the night if I can lock up the dorms enough. God, imagine sleeping in a bed I once considered comfortable. The thought is too tantalizing to pass up. Then, thinking on how nice that would be, I think how long I'd been without it. It really kinda sucks, you know? Like, I worked tons of summer jobs since I was 16. Also, I could make it to college and do something with my life. I don't think I'm going to be getting a refund on any of it. All that wasted time, effort, money. I found my old dorm after my deliberations. The building itself was rather unassuming. The exterior had no defining features that distinguished it from any other building. I only knew its purpose because of my extended experience here. My stuff, or what remained of it, should still be in my room, of course. That's with extremely positive thinking, and assuming no vultures made it into the building yet. This dorm specifically was outfitted with fiberglass windows and could only be opened from the outside with a student or faculty ID. The other buildings were going to get the upgrade soon enough, but it just wasn't in the cards, it seemed. They wanted to instill a sense of security in the freshmen, so they'd stay and continue to pay tuition. They didn't give a shit about upperclassmen. Those were hollow promises. I raced to the front door, sliding my backpack to the front as I opened up the front zipper. I clapped at the plastic card with my face plastered on the front, my eyes staring back at me with the dumbest smile I'd ever seen. I need a haircut, I said, looking at the blonde bush on my head. And when I get one, I want to grow it out. It almost makes me want to drink. I'm broken out of my thoughts by a terrifying scream behind me. I turned quick on my heels to see the naked, bruised body of one of the vultures. She's got a crooked jaunt in her stride. Open sores and welts covered the surface of her body, and bruises discolored the entirety. Dirt, grime, and what looked like blood caked her wicked form. She looked at me with an obsessive glare. She begins drooling as she walks closer. No, this is not going to go down this way. Hurry, just have to scan the card. I turn and practically smash the card against the scanner. The light goes green and I make a mad dash inside, turning to pull the door shut as quickly as I can. The vulture slams her body against the door frame, and I'm almost pushed inside by the force of it. These monsters, just what could have set them off? What was in that explosion that turned them from normal people into these absolute feral creatures? Something's happened. Something big and nobody wants to talk about it. Well, not nobody. I hear whispers that it isn't happening just here. There are people that come here from other cities that have it way worse, like Buffalo or San Diego. Those places have it real rough. I dig in my heels and shove the door back in and its latches. The vulture's fingers slid in between the cracked opening. The door shuts over top of them, and the vulture emits a nasty scream that shakes my stomach something uncomfortable. I finally push it closed with the vulture pulls its fingers free. The door shuts and the lock re-engages. I slide down against the door, catching my breath, looking out onto the lounge I'd been so used to just a year ago. The place I'd called home, if not just for a while. And now, it's gone to shit. Chapter 2. I remember going to Disney World once with my father when I was 5. It's my earliest memory, and I remember the carousel most of all. I had never experienced that sense of extreme dizziness, seeing the characters all around, and that many people in one place. It all coalesced into a single perfect memory. I remember calling out to my father and running toward him after leaving the carousel. That feeling of the world spinning underneath my feet. The total loss of control. And now I sit here with that exact same feeling, and the world is underneath me, still spinning. I looked down at the ID in my hands. The force I'd slammed the card in, I saw it bent quite a bit. Damn things were cheap as hell anyway. Don't even think that this thing will work for anymore now. It's always just another way for them to get you to shell out another $30. Hoping that I'm wrong, I gather my bearings and stand up with the bent card clutched in my hand. I make my way across the room and press the card against the reader. Once, twice, a third time, and it doesn't give. I groan loudly. I turn the rest of my head against the door, pounding it slightly. Fuck. Fuck, fuck, fuck. Goes to show how awful these things really were. The door is locked tight, and the windows were so thick I wouldn't be breaking them with anything short of a battering ram. Of course, they couldn't cheap out on the budget for that, and I definitely classify this as an emergency situation. I look back to the security desk. Peering around the wall, I can see the power still running in the computers. Of course, these computers had direct access over the scanner system. I hop over to the countertop and pull the chair up to the side, running my fingers in the keyboard. Username, password. Of course, how could I have forgotten? Damn it, I don't know any of their logins. Unless... wait a second. I think I remember the computers here all shared a default login. I just have to use admin for the username, and the password should just be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Found that out last year while dicking around in the computer lab. I had a bad habit of forgetting my account password from time to time, and I just resorted to using the default since it was much easier to remember. I type it into the field, and the computer boots up fully. Success! Now it's just a matter of finding the program that controls the scanners. I open the start menu and go to the search bar. Scanner. 0 results. Lock. 0 results. Student ID. 1 result. ID manual. Perfect. And to think, I could have made an excellent security guard. I just did the extent of the guards work that worked here. Especially this one guard who watched Golden Girls on the portable TV he always brought into work. Pretty sure you could have been John Wayne Gacy and made it past him. It actually reminds me of the time I learned I didn't have to take them seriously. I was out with a friend of mine. Well, he was a friend, at least. Don't know if he made it out alive. Anyway, sorry, sidetracked. He was this real tall guy. Kieran was his name. Easily the tallest guy on our floor. Could leap a mile if he tried. Passed us over at 21, and we went to go get some booze down in the city. There's this little store they had set up, little mom and pop shop with a cashier who didn't card you if it was the part. So Kieran goes to the store and buys a few cases of beer, nothing too fancy. College kids don't care what gets you off till it does the job right. It could be, and often was, the nastiest dirt that did the damage, but you sucked it up and you did it, because in some small way, we were all telling the world we didn't care for its limitations. We were in control. Turns out, the world was perfectly suited to showing us just what little shits we were. Still, I have very vivid recollections of walking back with Kieran to the dorm. I had the same backpack I got on now, except it was loaded to the brim with bottles and bottles of booze. Turns out the natural flow of walking is a lot less stable for glass bottles sitting in a backpack than either of us had planned. I felt it all shatter, one after another, and felt all of it drip through the bag down the back of my legs. I froze right there on the spot and knew I was fucked. Kieran, though, he knew he had none of it on him. His part was done. He didn't even chip in for any of the beer, so in the end he didn't lose anything. We were just outside our building, and I was standing there like an idiot with 30-some-odd bottles of broken beer dripping down my body and signaling, "Please, get me in trouble." I was fucked. I'd gotten in trouble before about it, that time not being my fault, but instead of that, some obnoxiously loud girls one of my floor mates invited over. But anyway, getting caught here likely would have led to some serious consequences. I had no parents to radio home to, both died long ago. Pretty sure I would have just been booted out on my ass, handed a fine farewell, and left to my own devices. I figured if I was going out, I was just going to walk in, accept it, and figure it out from there. I was angry with Kieran, but I figured if I was in his shoes, I would have done the same thing. So, rather than get caught out here like a moron, I walked inside. I swear, my blood froze to the touch as I passed the security guard, and he just let me through. I slapped my ID against the reader and walked upstairs, past the second staircase, up, pressed the button for the elevator. I almost expected security to meet me on my floor, arms crossed and all. "Yeah, alright, buddy. Come on, you know exactly what you did." But they never came. I walked out of the elevator toward the end of the hall and let the door swing shut behind me as my roommate looked me dead in the eyes, the most shocked look I'd ever seen on his face. He was a drinker as I, but he didn't have the build of Kieran to avoid getting carded at the shops. The hell are you reeking of? And that was how that story ended. From that point on, I brought as many bottle packed past those gates now that blocked me from my things. Even now, I see that as much as useless both as he was at his job. If he was here, I probably would never even been able to do this. I switched the scanner system off, and I can hear the door unlock. I jump back over the countertop and reach for the handle. Success, baby. I grab it, swinging the door open and pulling it closed tightly behind me. That same elevator I took before was to my left, and to my right was a divided staircase that led either down to the basement floor or up to the first. Down in the basement lies the laundry room and a few student lounges. The laundry room is nothing special. 5 floors of students crammed to do laundry with 6 washers and dryers. It's almost the scariest part of the whole college lifestyle. I've never seen anyone get so vicious over a few dryers. Then there was the time I walked down on the dance team and their massive orgy down here at 3 in the morning. There's nothing more indicative of the college experience such as blatant sexual deviancy and large pools of prohibited alcohol. I tend to stick to one poison over the other. Never much enjoyed the thought of getting attached, especially in a time when people were so desperate and looking for attachment. Let me tell you, that time down in the laundry room kept me away from using those machines for the rest of my stay. Everything felt like I could imagine exactly who was which and which position over which load. I'm sure they enjoyed it well enough. I could even recognize 2 of the girls who'd been there. It was my first meeting with the school dean about improper use of school facilities, whatever that is. The lounges weren't that much different. People who wanted to bone usually chose down in the 2 separate lounges if their roommate was busy with the room. My room was on the 2nd floor. I began walking up the stairs to the right, and I swing open the door right at the top. The 1st floor extends in both directions, rooms line each of the walls, each of them locked, needing their own separate key given only to those that live there or in use by security. I don't remember seeing any of the keys that security had, so I suppose it went with the last guard, wherever he may be. He may as well be 6 feet under. My exit is through the door on my right, the stairwell that climbs all the way to the top floor. I'm climbing up the stairs and push the door open onto my floor. To my left are the rooms where everybody smoked a lot of pot. It just seemed like the place to gather, and I remember my hall always smelling of the stuff constantly. To the right are the bathrooms and the rest of the world, who would join people on the left, and just past them, in the end, is my room. Of course, my roommate was asthmatic, so weed was a deep no from him. He's gone now, just like everybody else. I don't know if he's still alive. Probably is. He seemed like the kind of guy who'd know what to do in a situation like this. He's from Jersey. I walked down to the end and stand in front of my room. It'd be a real shame if my door was locked like everybody else's. Mine was always so weird that it never fully locked when it closed. That led to some irritating times where a couple of guys down the hall would sneak into my room and do some shit to me while I slept. Well, now I'm making a positive of this. I'll bet they're absolutely jealous now that I have access to my room and all of my shit. That is, if
they are still able to feel jealousy. I open the handle and walk in, smiling at the place I called home, even for a short time. My bed remains made, my roommate's stuff is still here. I even see the drawer where he kept all the expensive knives. He could become a serial killer with all these fucking knives in his drawer. I always gave him shit for it. Turns out his fascination with them just came from the design of the use. I toss my backpack onto my bed and I see a box of Cheez-Its on his desk. He's not going to be eating these anytime soon. They're stale, but at this point I don't give a shit. I'm grabbing them by the fistful and shoving them into my mouth, savoring each bite. Thank the Lord for junk food tasting so good. I walk over to the mini fridge sitting beside my bed. It's still plugged into the wall. I reach inside and grab one of the bottles of soda from the shelf and twist the top open. I'm guzzling the drink down, but have to stop about halfway because it burns. It's a good burn. I miss this burn. I need to shower. I grab my key off of my desk. Just in case my door were to actually lock itself. What a cosmic joke. I bend down beneath my bed and open up my drawers. Clothes I hadn't worn in so long. I'd been so used to my gray t-shirt and shorts I'd almost forgotten about how much stuff I'd actually brought to school. Like a nice serious rep, I started my own Salvation Army back on the outside. I was assuming I wanted to leave so soon. I could ride this place out all the way to the end. Grab up some clothes and a towel and hit the showers. They of course were located directly across from the toilet, so if you happened to be in the middle of the shower while someone was taking a shit, you had to deal with the smell the entire time. It was absolutely awful. Yeah, and don't get me started on the people that actually took shits in the shower. I shake my head in disgust and hop into mine. Of course, it actually isn't my shower, but it kinda is. Third from the right, nobody ever thinks to use it, much less shit in it, so it's usually the cleanest one. I toss my clothes outside along my towel alongside the bar at the top. The hot water hits my skin and I let out an audible moan. It feels so good after sleeping in my own filth for so long to finally get clean. I don't have any shampoo. I'd actually just run out before I had to leave and was going to get some more. But obviously that didn't happen. Looks like I'd have to just stick with my putrid locks. Man, what a shame. I run my hands through my hair and down my face, letting the water cascade down as I scrub myself. Then I hear a sound from outside. The ding from the elevator stopping on this floor. I freeze. Why would the elevator be running? It is set to the basement automatically when it's not in use, and it isn't like anybody else's. The scanner. I went and turned it off. It must have turned it off for the whole building. The whole system's connected. My skin begins to crawl as I imagine all different kinds of things crawling through that elevator door. And then I remember the soul vulture that nearly got the best of me outside. How could I expect it not to want to find its way in? Of course it wouldn't let a new source of food out of its sight. God, I am so stupid. Turn around and shut off the shower, letting the water drip from my face as I curse myself. Stupid, it definitely heard the shower running. I'm fucked. I begin to panic, but I can't panic because then I'll make more noise, and if I make more noise, I hear the bathroom door swing open. It squeaks. It's a very heavy door and prone to making loud noises. I go completely silent. I can't think of anything. I'm paralyzed. I hear the footsteps come closer. I'm shaking underneath my skin. I see the curtains pulled aside, and I see a gun pointed directly at me. Chapter 3. Behind the gun is Addison Thompson. She was a student here, member of the dance and softball teams. She's tall, brunette, and limber. She seems equally as confused to see me, looking me up and down, stays down for a noticeable amount of time, saying something under her breath before looking back up. The hell are you doing here? I thought you were one of those damn monsters. She lowers the gun. I could have said the same thing, I said, reaching for my towel and wrapping it around my waist. I've seen her around campus quite a bit. Never really talked to her at great length, but then again, she was one of the people participating in the great laundry sex party, so I guess I didn't really need to. Well, thank fucking God, I've never fired a gun before, and I really wasn't looking to begin today, she said, looking to the side. And, nice, she said. What are you doing here? I asked, walking out to grab my clothes. Could we perhaps wait until you've gotten dressed before we continue? She asked. You're oversensitive about the human body? Who would have guessed? I asked, throwing my shirt over my head. She looks angry for the smallest of seconds, but then a flash of recognition passes across her face. No, it isn't that. I'd actually forgotten about that whole thing down in the laundry room, she said, dropping her shoulders. I hadn't, I said, smirking and sliding on my boxers. I don't have to explain anything to you, she said. I didn't ask you to. I put my legs through my jeans and pulled them up, buttoning and pulling down my shirt so it's more comfortable. Listen, you were all really wasted that night. Oh, is this you explaining? She looks down to me and her lip creases. Oh, no, do continue. I'm sure this leads somewhere good. I picked up my leg and throw on my socks. You know, giving attitude to a girl with a gun is never a good idea, she said, cocking her head. It is when the girl openly admits to never having shot a gun before and not wanting to. I mean, I think I'm good, I said. Come off your high horse. Don't act like you've never done anything stupid while drunk, she said, placing one hand on her hip. Nope. Wait, what? At least back then, wasn't into it. Though I came out so easily. I wasn't really sure the reasoning behind it. Maybe to catch her off her game, maybe to see if she'd call me out on it. Either way, I'm enjoying myself. I came here to get out of crummy situations, not lodge myself back into them. I picked my towel off the ground. And that's why you're here now? Right now was a momentary lapse in judgment that turned out in my favor. I could have easily been mauled by those monsters outside, or not even made it to the grounds at all. I begin walking around the corner and look back as I speak. She follows. The question I want to ask is why you're here. I heard it was really tough out there, so I never really left. I mean, not fully. I had to go get this gun, but for the most part I've been holed up in the campus's scanner-locked buildings. Those monsters out there don't need ID cards, so it works for me. You being here now means you had your ID on you when you left. Why do you think of taking it? If I had every intention of booking it, I would have grabbed some food or something, she asked. Summer sucks without a roof over your head. I opened the door, holding it open behind me. Guess I subconsciously had intentions of coming back at some point, whether or not it was a war zone. You're right about what it's like out there. The whole state is practically fucked, I said. No sarcastic retort, she asked. Comes and it goes, I said. You're much more talkative than I originally pegged you. Kind of like it. Also comes and goes, I said with a smirk. Figures. You able to get back into your own room? Yeah, it tends to not lock. Worked out for me once, I said. What does that mean, for once? A couple of people on this floor take advantage of that. Stuff of that nature. Oh, I'm sorry, she said. You feign sympathy, but you aren't sorry, I said. Oh, so you know how I feel? You said it because it fills a void in conversation. You've probably never even had to worry about a single thing in your life, except for when the next round of shots are being served. The hell did that come from? And don't say it just comes and goes. It comes from getting people, like really getting them. You don't have to speak to them to get to know them. Just seeing how they react to situations tells a much more clear story than what their mouths could ever say. So, like stalking people? I don't follow people around, no. Way too many people, way too much effort. Just see how people show themselves off in public. How they wish to be seen. You're like the sun. Really? Constantly exerting everything about yourself so that everyone knows you. Call for attention of the highest caliber. Her look changes, but not to the angry expression I was expecting. I was expecting a fight back, an argument to get my blood boiling, maybe even an excuse to steal that gun away for my own use, but what came surprised me. She started to cry. She backs up against the wall behind her and slid down and put her head in her lap, hugging her legs around her. God damn it. You know, this is why I don't do people things. You try once to do something and it always ends with someone crying. And that's my weakness. I can't stand by when someone's absolutely losing it. As much as I'd like to be done with the situation, I know it would eat me up inside. I walk over to her and slide up next to her. Look, I'm sorry for what I said. She shakes her head slowly. No, in some sick way you were right. I tried so hard. Excuse me? I wasn't ever like this before school. Not the party girl, not the in-your-face kind, but I wanted to change, to be someone new, you know? She said in between sobs. I didn't have any friends, believe it or not. I was the biggest loser. Glasses, pimples everywhere, even those ridiculous braces. And then you met a genie and here you are, I asked. No, I begged my parents to do anything to help me not be so unwanted. What does that entail? She shakes her head. I took out a loan to do this really expensive surgery to permanently fix my vision, and after that, the school bill, money for the braces. Everything became an all-or-nothing investment for my family, and it hinged on my happiness because I asked them to. I'm going to guess you didn't grow up with a lot of money. No, and so when I got here, I promised myself I'd be different. I'd make the most of what they did for me, so I didn't make them go into debt for nothing. I was absorbed into the college lifestyle. Well, good news, your parents aren't drowning in debt now. Nobody to collect. She stares up at me with a red race around her eyes. Too soon? I had to bury my parents. There is never a time where that is funny, she said. I can think of a few situations. Well, you have to take what you can from a situation. She's silent. Like, you're still alive. You made it out, and they'd be proud of that. Go figure. That wasn't totally asshole-ish, she said. Well, thank you. I try. She lets out a deep breath and looks to me. Mind if I ask a question? Go ahead. Are you alone also? Since I was about 15. I'm sorry, she said, looking down. It's like I said, finding positives. I didn't have to lose them to this nonsense, I said, waving my hand in front of me. You're horribly macabre. You know that, right? I've been told as much, I said. Well, do you think you'd consider joining me in my room? I look over to her. I mean, not in that way, unless you want to. But really, I meant like pooling resources. Out there is kind of fucked, and we're both at this on our own. It might just make this a little less shitty. I stare at her, considering her proposal. Makes enough sense. Sure, I said. I hate flies. This is the time when they would start popping up. Really? Yeah, why not? I said, standing to my feet. Seems like a grand time. If you want to go head up, I'll grab some stuff from my room and follow you up, I said. She stands up behind me. Okay, you know which room is mine, right? 403? I didn't, but I guess I do now. I push open the bathroom door. She walks behind me and takes the door as I walk out. She smiles and turns to the elevator, pressing the button. I turn around and walk down toward my room. I open my door and walk inside, letting the door close slowly behind me. You feign sympathy. You aren't sorry. Where did that come from? Maybe I was pushing my own flaws onto her. Projecting, I think it's called. But maybe it's just something that she said that triggered it. Before I came here, I really didn't do any of this stuff, I swear. Maybe it's the certainty of the promise, the look for approval. It's not unlike that of my father. I'll be home by 5, I swear. I swear, I don't buy it for a second. Nice sob story she has, but it seems a little too neat. A little too convenient in this time where convenience is dangerous. I'm not in a time where I can take things at face value anymore. That kind of thing can get you killed. That girl sees a lonely kid, and so she thinks she has no other options. She might as well sway his mind and give her a good time. That and some free supplies. I slip into my pair of sneakers. So why then am I entertaining the thought of going up there? Well, just because I can see through her words like a window doesn't mean I shouldn't use what she's offering. I did say I was slightly aroused back during the great laundry orgy. She does really have a nice chest. I grab up my backpack and zip it fully, grab the box of cheese that's beside me and stuff it on top of the small black box that I already have inside. Fits just as well beside it, nested, and I move it to my closet. Find some more boxes of food, mostly unopened. Grab what I can fit in my backpack. Drinks I'm not too particularly needing of at the moment, but I grab a few just in case. I choose bottles of water over the soda. I guess I want to keep hydrated easier. Finally, I open up my roommate's desk drawer and grab out the box of condoms inside. You won't be needing them anymore. Chapter 4. Up on the 4th floor I can see Addison's door slightly open. I walk up and push it the rest of the way with my hand. Addison's sitting on her bed, cross-legged with a remote beside her, facing her television, which seems to be showing a never-ending movie screen. Internet's spotty here, of course, there's nobody paying the bill, but sometimes, just sometimes, I can connect to Netflix, she said. How can I do that? I don't know, but I'm not going to question it. Might just jinx it. Ah, I see. You can set your bag down by the dresser, she said, pointing. Alright, thank you, I reply. I walk over to the other side of the room and lay the bag down on the floor. I also reach into my pocket and take out my broken ID. Such a shame. Actually, they liked my picture here, too. I lie. Oh, she asks, looking over. I flash the pieces of my ID and she cocks her head. Did that just happen? I walk over toward her and lean on the side of the bed. No, it's when I was coming into the building. I had to rush because I'd caught the attention of one of the vultures outside. I said, Vultures? That's just what I call people out there. Oh, makes sense. Wait, if it broke right when you came in, then how did you get past the door near the security desk? Oh, I went behind the counter and manually opened it from the computer, I said. Outside of the room, I hear the ding of the elevator. By which you mean you shut off the scanner? Well, fuck, we've got to move, she said, standing up. God damn it, why'd you have to do that? Especially now, of all fucking times. I had no way else in here, I said. Then you should have left. Damn it, I said, running over to my backpack. You have your gun ready? I've never had to use it before. I don't know if I really can, she said, more to herself. You almost used it on me, I said. How's the adrenaline? That's long gone, she said. Alright, give it to me then, I'll use it, I said. I hope she actually listens. What? No, it's mine. You're the one who fucking allowed her to come up here. I'm not rewarding you with shit, she said, standing her ground. I said I was amazed with her sudden bravado if I didn't mean chance loss of my own life. Okay, fine, but there isn't anything that said we need to confront it now. Stay quiet, I said, closing the door. I walk over to my backpack, putting it back on. She moves off to the bed and bends down, her skirt not quite covering as she reaches underneath the bed and pulling out the pistol. I hear the elevator door open. Whatever's outside is definitely in, and it's on our floor. Stay there. I'll shoot if it comes in, Addison whispers, moving slowly in front of the door, holding the gun out in front of her, cocking it and breathing heavily. I hear heavy footsteps outside. They're slow and methodical. Not like the stumbling and rush that had come to meet me outside. Is it maybe another one that managed to find its way in? Or was it something worse? The footsteps stop. I can see the shadow of whatever is outside crawl underneath the door and stop right at Addison's feet. She's sweating bullets. I'm sweating nukes. There's a knock on the door. Once, twice, and then 3 times. I'm absolutely silent, and she swallows hard. There's another knock. A single, hollow knock that seems to last for an eternity. Then something smashes against the door. It shakes a little bit, but holds. The sound makes me jump. Whoever the fuck it is, you better leave. I have a gun and I'll shoot you. Addison screams. She's hyperventilating. There's a silence, and then a low voice growls out. It's distorted by some sort of voice modifier to sound almost robotic.
You don't have the guts.
Then the door flies off of its hinge right into Addison, sending her to the ground. Standing in the hallway was a robed figure wearing a gas mask. It jumps into the room with incredible speed and stamps onto the doorframe, snapping it in two and picking at us and up off the ground. I pick up the gun she dropped and I raise it, leveling it with the intruder's head. "Let her go, now," I said. The robed figure utters a low and hollow laugh, and from underneath the robe comes a long blade that digs itself into Adson's abdomen in one swift motion. Her head flies back and her eyes go wide as I feel the fingers pull the trigger. The bullet catches in the side of the figure's head, but it doesn't detract from pulling the blade off her. I see that there are spikes on the side of the blade, and they rake out her intestines as they pool onto the floor before me.
"I was wrong. Now, she doesn't have the guts,"
the figure said, turning to me. I unload the rest of the clip into the figure. Its body recoils from each shot, but after I finish the clip, it bends back around and looks at me as if nothing had happened. It moves to crack its own back, stretching as it reaches into the robe, most of its body hidden by the cloak it wears, even the back of the head masked by the robe. Pulled out a small cartridge, square in shape, pressed a button on the face. Smoke begins emitting from it. The figure drops it to the floor and explodes into noise and sound. I fall to the ground as my muscles start to fail. Everything numbs, but I can still see. The figure's gloved hand breaks through the smoke and grabs me by my collar, and the only thing I can hear now is the sound of the television. It must have finally connected. On screen was a clip from a historical documentary about World War II. The figure pulls me up and holds me in front of it, and I must be losing it, because before I pass out, I think I can see the mask begin to smile. "And on that cold day in January of 1945, Great Britain became the world's largest superpower." Everything goes dark. Chapter 5.
Is he alive?
I don't know. You can check him. I don't want to touch him.
Are you squeamish?
I just don't want to touch him.
The voices, they surround me, permeate my being. I can feel my body again, my weight. It feels as if I've taken a header into a ditch. My eyes open slowly, and I see bright yellowish lights casting on the columns around me. They stand against shined wood walls. "Hey, are you okay?" It comes from my right. I turn my head slowly. Everything seems to be a blur, acting on a sort of delay. I see two people standing. One is a guy a little older than I am. Thin frame, maybe a few years older. He's wearing loose pants and a gray hoodie, hood down. In place, covering his head, is a brown beanie and some specks on the bridge of his nose. Beside him is a younger girl, probably 16 or 17. She's bigger. Quite a bit bigger than the guy. She has somewhat long, auburn-colored hair, and she wears a purple long-sleeve shirt with a long but frilly skirt. They both stand tall above me. "I cannot feel my tongue," I said, opening and closing my mouth. "You... what?" the guy asked. "No, wait, I think I have it. Yeah, I got it. I was just numb for a moment," I said, sitting up and fully looking around. The room we were in is outfitted with a very ornate red carpet with gold trim stretching across. It almost looked like a fancy ballroom, minus the lack of tables. It is very open, yet there aren't any doors or anything. It's just a closed room with no conceivable way in or out. I sat looking at the environment as if everything were moving in slow motion. "Now, what the hell did you do to me?" I asked. "Us?" the guy asked, turning to the girl. His brows are furrowed and looking for her to help. "He thinks we did this to him," the girl beside him said. "Yes, I got that part. I was just confused by it." He turns back to me. "No, we didn't bring you here, but it's okay. I forgive you because I believed you had done the same to us." "You thought I brought you here? How the fuck could I have done anything to you if I was out cold? How the hell am I supposed to believe anything you said? I don't even know you." "He's a harsher tongue than I thought," the girl said. "No, I mean he couldn't feel it," the guy said back. Right. The guy turns back to me. "I could say the same about you, my friend, but I took a look in your bag and you seem to check out." "You went through my backpack?" I asked, feeling for the weight on my shoulders, but it isn't there. "I'm gonna kill him. Straight up going to..." "Hold on there. Chill out," the guy said. "Your bag is right here." He tosses it to me. I struggle to catch it. It dangles as I do. "Hey, watch it! There's important stuff in here." "The hell right do you have to be looking in my bag?" "The same right that you have of doubting me, Gavin Daniels." "How?"
Saw your name on that box, but I'm gonna respect your privacy that much and hope there isn't a weapon of some sort in there. Couldn't open the combo on the lock anyhow. I stare at him. They said the best way to know your enemy is to befriend them, so I'm playing this by ear. Are you gonna be friend or foe? Be the guy who finds a fucking way out of wherever we are. Now, since you've been well informed about my name, would it be the slightest bit of consideration to share me yours? I asked. Your attitude is noted, but unneeded, the guy said. I'm Grace Jackson, the girl said, breaking her silence. I apologize for his rough exterior. We're both as confused as you are. What he's not so eloquently trying to ask is if you'll help us figure out what's happened to us. I turn to face her. I understand. Still wouldn't kill you to give me your name, would it? I look back to the guy. Tom. It's Tom. Well, technically it's Thomas, but just call me Tom. And technically you could have just said that the first time. Alright, well, I guess the first order of business is to ask if you guys know what this place is. No clue, Grace said. You're a load of help. Oh, a load of something. Okay, and how about how you got here? I asked. Before I was attacked, both me and I trail off, remembering the sight of Addison being disemboweled. It was like seeing a piñata be torn to shreds. There was this crazy guy in a gas mask who came in like a train and started attacking and... Gas mask? Grace asked. You saw him too then. Figures, Tom said. Figures? What does? I remember seeing him too, Grace said. Same. Yeah, I was driving home from work and I'd actually gotten into an accident. It was rear-ended and spun around. I came to, I saw a figure hovering over my windshield. Get that? He was standing right on the hood of my car and kicked my windshield in. What? And he had this small little smoke bomb. And let me guess, I interrupt. Made you feel all numb? Like I wasn't even in control of my body. It was freaky. Yeah, I remember that smoke bomb-y thing too. I was in my house and that freak in the robe came to my house. Well, bet you can guess what happened. I'm here now, obviously. I was at my college. I began, my headache pounding through. I was with the girl and that guy kicked down the door like it was nothing. And he took this blade and stabbed her, and after he threw her out, threw the smoke bomb, and I was useless. Why did he kill her though? Tom asked. You would think he would either kill both of you or none of you. I don't know, maybe it's because she had a gun. Stands to reason then, Tom said. There's a crackling sound above me. I look up and take notice of what looked like to be an intercom speaker. There seemed to be something broadcasting from wherever we are.
Hello, I assume you've had a nice nap. I am your captain, Leto, and I've gathered you all here for my game. It isn't really a hard game. You simply have to escape. You've each been injected with a fatal dosage of purine, a drug that slows your respiratory system to a halt. Within 18 hours, it shall spread through your entire body, meaning you will die a nice and painless death.
The voice is easily recognizable. It is the metallic, harsh voice of the figure in the cloak. At least I have something to call the bastard now, Leto. What? Explain yourself, Tom calls out.
As I mentioned, there is only one way to prevent your demise, your escape. I've placed vials containing a drug called Excelivine at the exit of this place, your playground. This drug, when injected, shall protect your body from the remaining attack of the purine.
This is absolutely insane, I said, looking down to Tom and Grace.
There might be others like you within the walls of your playground. I cannot guarantee their lust for blood is any less or more than your own. After my speech is concluded, there will be a door that reveals itself to you. This is your first step. I suggest you who work together, for that will be the easiest way to escape. But it is entirely up to you on how you move on from this point onward.
Leto said, All of us are silent in deadly anticipation. My head begins to pound once more. It becomes harder to breathe, but it passes quickly. A section of the wall begins moving to our right. It slides out of place, revealing an opening to what looks like to be another similar-looking room. "Do we go?" Grace asked. "I think so. I mean, we can't stay here with that turbo stuff flowing through our veins," I said. "Tubo, Kirarine," Tom amends. I give him a look, and he shakes his head. "Sorry, med student. Knowing these things is kind of my job." Jesus Christ, a med student? Only reason someone wants to be a med student in these times is because they're pretentious as fuck. I want to help everyone who gets sick so they can all thank me and be their hero. Give me a break. "And what the hell has he got a med student kidnapped for?" I asked, poorly hiding my disdain. "I don't know, maybe because I have some knowledge on the drugs he was talking about. I can't think of any other reason. Maybe to avoid doubt over what they said." He looks nervous. "Because I know about them. Look at me, be amazed." Fucking asshole. "Sounds about right," Grace said. Or maybe Leto's good taste in hating med students as much as me. Well, they do act as he said, so if we really do have tuberculosis flowing in our bloodstream, we better start moving. I turn to the opening in the wall, looking into the room ahead. It looks to be some sort of party lounge. I take a few steps out toward the opening and feel a hand on my shoulder. I turn to see Tom pass his hand. "Whoa, hold on there. You almost fell," he said. "What? No, I didn't. Let go of me," I said, pulling away from him. Okay, chill. Just helping you out," Tom said, holding his hands up. I look at him hard before turning back around. I so was not falling. I know. In the party lounge, I could see a very large grandfather clock ticking slowly at the end of the room, just next to a metal door. It seems we have until 4, whatever time of day it is, before we succumb to the effects of the Tibokiri. Then I noticed something else inside of the clock. Just behind the small glass window at the base, there was a shingle sheet of paper caught up inside. I grab at the paper and pull it out. "Did you find something?" Tom asked. "No, I just love investigating the innards of clocks." "What does it say?" Grace asked. I'm reading, I said, shaking my head and turning back to the sheet of paper.
Year 0, March 30th, 2007. Today is a new day. It is our first day on our research on the land trade in Daikoburi. I must admit I am a little hesitant. It's my first day on the job, and I'm already being given these orders from up on high. I guess this stuff came from Mars. I got it in these little vials the size of my pinky finger. It's quite insane that I finally got the work to help keep me in line. I'm anxious. I'm working with 3 other men. I haven't met them yet or even know their names, but I think I remember hearing something about another coming in a few weeks. I should go. I've got to see if I can wing this whole meeting the other members thing. Signed, Jack Adata.
Do any of you know a Jack Adata? Tom asked. No, Grace said. I might have known like a Jack Adams or something like that, but not on that one, I said. You sure? He asked. Yeah, I think I'd remember someone with the last name Adata. Something there. Something about saying that name, having it roll off my tongue. No, I'm sure I don't know any Adams, Adata. Nah. Okay, Jack Adams was that kid I knew on the outside. The one who liked to kill rats. I remember he told me his name once after he offered to share some with me. No matter how desperate I get for food, I am never going that far. Well, I guess it must have been maybe people on the ship before us, Grace said. Or maybe are we in some sort of sick television show? I do not even want to think if anybody can see me right now. Grace brushes her hand through her hair, looking around. Television show? Some sick human sport to keep the masses entertained while the world whittles away around them, Grace said, looking for any sign of a camera. To be honest, I don't know about that. I think that Leto guy would have mentioned something about it. This might be for his own personal enjoyment. Why, personally, I don't know. I still don't know why this note relates then, Grace said. I'm just gonna say it's here to waste our time. The more time we're here talking about it, the less time we have to get the hell out of here. I said, stuffing the paper in the back pocket of my backpack. I don't say it, but I have a lingering feeling that I'm wrong. That this is important. Somehow, some way. Whoever this Leto guy is has got me figured out cold for not leaving anything unturned. Well, alright then. Are we ready to go through that door there? Grace points to the heavyset door. Looks like something you'd see on a ship in a cartoon. The handle's even made to be a wheel on the face of the door. Yeah, I guess so. I can handle this door here. Step back and watch the magic happen, Tom said, cracking his knuckles. He grabbed the spokes at the top and the bottom as he gripped it hard. The wheel refuses to move. I remember moving into the apartment that I lived in. My father was struggling just as much with a box that contained some of our kitchen appliances, most of which were sold a month after due to low storage space. We moved into a small apartment in Denver back in 2007, back when it was actually nice. My parents worked as scientists. They were top of their game. The only thing, they worked freelance, so they didn't get paid the stable intervals. Then my mom got a job over in New York and she had to be away so she could help us live, and hey, you okay? Grace stares at me with a grin on her face. The two people I had to wake up to. The door's open in front of me. Tom managed to get it open. Yeah, I'm fine, I said, walking through as I peered into the next room. It seems to be a parlor room. There's a table in the middle of the room, some surrounding chairs, a dresser, and an empty frame sitting upon the wall. Just beyond the table lies a metal door that looks exactly like the one that's built into the wall. Except only there seems to be a small machine to the right of it. I walk inside and try the door. The metal doesn't budge an inch. I think this is some sort of input device, Tom said, walking up next to me, inspecting the machine. I look over, and it has a small display on top of a square-like box. Below is a numbered keypad from 1 through 9. Maybe it needs a password to be unlocked, I said. Any chance that 1111 is a no-go? I guess so. Is there even really a point to trying that? Who would honestly put their password as that? I don't know, maybe it is. There's literally no harm in trying it. Oh, no harm? What if us putting the wrong password causes some bad reaction? Think of that? Hey, come on, lay off her. It was just a question. I walk over toward the dresser on the other side of the room. The empty frame hangs right behind it, and the wall inside the frame looks like any other. Except this part here looks a little bit lighter in shade. I take the frame in both of my hands and slide it off the wall. Apparently, it wasn't an empty frame after all. It had a glass pane with a slightly off section of wood inside. Behind the frame was a tiny alcove. It had the tiny sheet of notebook paper stashed away. On it is scribbled 0399. Hey, I call out to the others, waving the sheet in my hand. Tom looks over and smiles. It isn't the goofy buck-toothed smile I've been expecting. I chalk him up a solid point. He presses the buttons on the keypad and the display grows a blank green, before ringing a sound of approval. Another sound shifts in the tumblers of the metal door and Grace takes the wheel in her hands, surprisingly able to make it move. Hey, Gavin, Grace, look at this, Tom said, closing in one of the drawers of the dresser. He turns fully around as holding a full sheet of paper. Okay, they aren't completely useless, I'll give them that. May have been a little harsh in my original judgments. It's got writing on it similar to that last note, same typewriter-like look. What kind of font must you have been using to not go for a default nice-looking one, I asked. Maybe it was made with an actual typewriter, Grace said. 2007, I said. I guess you're right. So, what's it say? This one's labeled Year 0 as well, I said.
Year 0, April 2nd, 2007. I last updated on Friday, but I have a good reason for my absence. We've been so busy on I've been warned to not mention specifics in these journals, so I've done the duty of redacting out any mention of them from this point on. I can't really go back in time to fix my mistakes, right? Well, besides that, we've got good work going. The potential of this stuff is insane. Maybe if we keep digging, we can cure cancer. Maybe I can get bones and take Pamela and Megan out for a nice vacation. Also, one of my coworkers' wives has struck something bad. With the cancer, I mean. I don't remember her name, but his name's Jay. I'm still trying to get them memorized. Jay's got the highest pitch voice out of all of them, His hair shows peaks of gray before any of the others, but only slightly. The others don't stick out enough yet. I'm trying. I think one other's name might be David. Yes, David. He had this super dark hair that clung close to his head, and his voice was very deep. He seemed to talk very casually with Jay. Maybe they knew each other beforehand. Actually, all three of them seem to have some sort of familiarity with each other. I can't remember the last one's name or anything about him. Signed, Jack Adata.
Okay, what is this? I asked. Hey, can you let me see that first letter? Tom asked. Sure, I said, grabbing it out of my pocket. Tom's eyes scan the paper and he grins. Yeah, here's the two redacted sections. I think they belong to those two things right here he wrote about in that first page. His finger rests on the two words, lantrate and dicoberine. That seems very likely, and this guy was scolded for writing about it, but isn't this a sort of private journal? How would have anybody found out if it's private? After the first day, even, I ask. Maybe it wasn't private, Grace suggests. What do you mean? I ask. No, it's just a theory, but that first letter mentioned something about Mars, right? And I don't ever recall hearing of those two things they wrote about. Lactate? Lantrate, Tom corrects. Lactate is breast milk, I said. Grace's eyes open wide, and she immediately turns a bright tomato red. Not exactly. Technically, a lactate is a base for a lactic acid. I stare at him, a specific look that begs him to ask what, but he doesn't. Or it could also be from lactation, he says, a defeated sound. Well, yeah, I meant lantrate, but oh boy, did that have me embarrassed. But anyway, yeah, I've never heard of them before. Now, I'm no science whiz. Guilty, Tom speaks up. Now it's her turn to look at him hard. Anyway, but even I passed chemistry and with a good grade, and both of those things are unfamiliar, so that and the fact they mentioned Mars and it needed to be redacted, I propose that these are things, elements, maybe they found on Mars? Who though? Who do you think? NASA, most likely. They're probably government stiffs. Okay, well, I suppose that's a possibility. Wouldn't you think that someone on a government level would, know a bit more about their job on the first day? Or maybe even, not sound like a dunderhead? I ask. Maybe, but even government people are still people. You're gonna have your dunces and goofballs everywhere. We just seem to be following a paper trail of theirs. Although, to be honest, you do seem to be right in saying he doesn't so much fit a government type. Then again, we know next to nothing about him. Maybe he got canned with these, or there's only 2 papers, I said, laughing. Maybe, Tom said, not so sure. I also seem to recall you saying that this was just a waste of time, Grace asked, turning her head to the side and giving me a look not unlike a vapid spider. A million little bug eyes staring me down. I was wrong, okay? I'm starting to think these logs or whatever might have some relevance, my jokes aside. Whatever these people were working on seemed to be really important, I said. And let's not forget, we name-dropped 2 coworkers. These guys definitely got a shit memory, or maybe it's selectively great memory? He has, physical features down, but can't even remember one of his 3 coworkers, Tom asked. I don't know. We don't even know if he actually works right beside them, or we just heard names in passing. He could be a total loner. Maybe. How about this Megan and Pamela? I'm thinking family. It'd be weird to ask your new coworkers out for a vacation. True. I've never been on a vacation. Things have always been so busy and hectic. I just remember being busy when I was younger. I don't really remember what about, but just a general sense of busy. Like a foggy cloud you'd see in a cartoon when someone's doing a million chores in the shortest amount of time possible. I guess we can only speculate on what days are for until we get more information, I said. There's a loud sound, almost like an explosion. Anybody have any idea what that was? I asked. Not a clue. Hopefully it's not Leno pulling the plug on us early. Let's just get out of here, Grace said. We walked through the door and enter a room that looks to be an infirmary. There are a few hospital beds lying against the wall, one of them to our right blocking a hallway that leads into the darkness. Other than that, the room is stripped bare. In front of us is a large metal set door. The floor is a thin wood, and I'm sort of fearful it might break out from underneath us. The walls are barren of any color whatsoever, as if they've been completely sucked out by some vampire. Lying face down in the furthest bed is a girl, seemingly naked, lying face down. Please either be dead so I don't have to bother, or have a really nice rack. Chapter 6. I walk over slowly. My muscles begin to tense up. I can feel a sweat drop begin to form across my brow. I'm nervous, but I've certainly been around dead bodies before. I mean, you kind of have to get used to something like that in today's day and age. So why am I so nervous then? I see the woman rise as she breathes in and out. It's because she's alive. That's why I am so nervous. The dead are so much easier to handle. I didn't get to bury my parents. Addison mentioned that she had to bury hers. I just now remembered. I mean, technically, I don't even know if they're dead. My father left one day to find my mother after an accident happened. He was driving across the country and I felt safer in the apartment. I can only assume, since they never returned, they died. And even if they didn't, that means they skipped out on me, in which case they're as good as dead to me anyway. None of the emotional baggage remains. It's sort of liberating to finally know how people think of you. You know, the last thing people tell you before they die is usually how much they hated you or loved you or whatever. It's the truth, because why lie when you can no longer benefit from it? The girl shifts as she breathes up and down. In a spry moment she looks up and is now standing on the bed. She looks to be around my age. She stares back at me. I look down and feel a rush of humility crash over me. I feel myself needing to explain. She jumps down off the bed, her breast bounces as she hits the floor. I find my eyes following them up and down. She's got long blonde hair that stops at her shoulders. Excuse me, I think we might be in the same predicament, I said. Oh, shut up. She doesn't answer. She walks past Grace and stands right in front of me. She's inches from my face, and I find it harder to breathe. I can feel an erection building in my pants. She looks me up and down, similar to how Addison had prior. And instead of pointing a gun at me, however, she simply brings her hand to my forehead, presses her finger against it, her cold blue eyes staring holes into me. Her hand is cold, almost unnaturally so. My head begins to pound. I hear Tom saying something to me, but everything blurs. It's hard to keep focused as she stares right back at me. The pounding increases. All at once my vision fades. Through it all I hear a mechanical voice I'd heard when I was grabbed.
Hero.
President Hal Valhart. He was a rather charming man. He was who England gave to us after the full annexation of the United States to the British Empire. So it was back sometime in the 70s. I remember seeing the recording of his first time on podium in front of a live nation. I'm certain you've all heard the rumors that I'm being sent here on the direct authority of blah blah blah. Listen, I volunteered for this position because I know you are all going through a rough time. It isn't easy going through change on this scale. I know you see me as the bad guy, but I want you all to know that what I want is the best for you, so we can all get along. They could have sent over someone way worse who could have ruled here with an iron fist, but I want us all to be open, so I'll be taking questions now to help ascertain anything I need to do to help make this whole thing work. A single hand in the crowd went up. It was a reporter who seemed to merely be jumping out of her seat. Yes, the lovely lady in front. A microphone was passed to the crowd and it reached the woman. Yes, I'm sure you're a nice man and all, but that means jack diddly to who you are as a leader. What if we don't like you or what you do? Valhart seems to smile, but it isn't menacing. It seems warm. He rated it for sort of security almost at all times. You'll see, I'm not going to be able to please everyone. So for those of you who dislike how things are, I'll give you one piece of advice. The Queen isn't as forgiving as I am. Not by a long shot. If word gets around to her that things aren't going well here, she won't hesitate to pull the plug on this country. Do you understand? The reporter is speechless. I don't want that to happen. I was an aficionado of pre-war American culture, and absolutely hate to see such beautiful memories be erased forever. I'm on your side, but this is a big but. If you do find your new living conditions unbearable, Find a way out. Find a way out. Chapter 7. I'm back in the infirmary, and the girl's standing in front of me again. Her finger leaves my forehead, and she dashes off, leaping over the bed. Grace jerks her head once, her eyes unmoving as she follows the girl. She runs off into the darkness of the hall. "Oh, Grace, are you alright? Who the hell was that?" Tom asked. That girl did something. I don't know what, but she brought out that memory. I haven't thought about that in a long while. Find a way out. It's almost like a challenge. I don't know about what happens next. I'm just moving. Movement without thought is almost what you could consider the lives of feral creatures. Though they too have their own special way of thought, right? Just because we don't understand it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It makes sense to them. I push by Grace and Tom and leap over the bed into the hallway. All around me becomes dark. I hear a huge thud, but I keep moving forward, not looking back. A scream lashes out from the hallway. I need to get closer. I bump into a wall. The hallway juts out to a corner that I didn't notice. It continues on for what seems like ages. My head begins to pound again. I'm short of breath, but I keep stable. I dash forward until my legs don't cooperate any longer. The hallway seems to continue on forever, and I don't even know if I've made any headway. I pull my backpack around and unzip the main pouch. Pull out a water bottle and undo the top. I tip the bottle down my throat as water flows nearly into my lungs. I cough and hack as I feel the cold rushing down. I don't even mind the discomfort. I can't imagine how fucked I'd be if I didn't have my backpack. I'm so happy I packed it so well. I down the bottle, regretting drinking so much, but at the same time relieved that I'm hydrated. I feel around inside my bag to find I've got 2 more full bottles left. I'll have to ration them out for longer, and like hell if I'm sharing. In a perfect world, maybe, but I hardly know these two, and don't know if they'd even do the same thing for me. I zip up my bag and thrust it back on my back, continue down to the darkness. Finally, do I see a beam of light as I turn one final corner and find a metal staircase. Looks like it has all of its guts removed, leaving it as a skeleton. The steps don't look anywhere near stable, but I venture that if I'm going to die, it's going to be here anyway, so why the hell not? I look up to see a lantern hanging on a rope illuminating the little corridor I'm standing in with a sickly green light. I place a foot on the bottom step and shift my weight onto it, testing its durability. Of course, it'd make much more sense to test some of the higher steps, but sometimes just doing the first step is enough. My mom wasn't around much. Both she and my dad were so busy with their new jobs. And it was with NASA, you know? A kid's supposed to be proud of his parents when they finally land good work. Break through the depression they were in and land some big money, but all I could feel was sadness. My parents were leaving each other so they could make things work. What kind of family is that? One that only makes things work is the first step, that everyone's alive, that's enough. Everything that comes after is secondary. Happiness is secondary. I climb up the rest of the stairs without problem. They don't buckle underneath my feet or anything. I can be thankful for that at the very least. That and the fact that I don't believe Grace or Tom have found me yet. Company's nice, but not their company, to be honest. This top of the stairs is a stretched out catwalk that hangs over a ledge no longer encompassed by a hallway. It stretches out a good 10 feet before dropping off to another staircase that rises up. So what kind of ship is this, anyway? I navigate my way across the catwalk. I notice I pass 2 of the supports that stretched up to the darkness above me. I notice the catwalk is being supported not by beams, but instead chains. The thing's hanging off of the ceiling, which is too far out for me to even see the end of it. It seems ever since the floor opened up for the chasm below, it also opened up the ceiling a bunch. I climb down on the other side and find that the hallway ducks around a corner symmetric to the side I was just on. Just great. How am I supposed to find my way out of here if everything's just going to be a mirror image? I turn the corner and begin walking down the hallway. Leaving the light behind me once more, I heard another sound coming from a ways down. So I knelt down and began to slow my pace. Whoever this woman is, she isn't going to slip by me again. I'm going to get some answers, whether she cooperates or not. I reach the corner and the sound grew louder. I swallow hard as I hear it come closer. I inch and I find a large metal door. There was a pounding from the other side. It was the source of the sound. I notice a metal bar holding the door shut. Sweet, a weapon. Now I have some persuasion up my sleeve. I slide the bar quietly out from between the handles and grip it tight like a baseball bat. I steady myself and kick once on the door. The pounding on the other side ceased. Now I just grip the pipe even tighter, wait for the door to open. Then I can crack it right upside. "Gavin?" Tom's voice calls out. It's Tom and Gracie that were making all that noise. I stand up with the pipe in my hands. It would only take one hit. Oh, two. One for each of them. Just one action to make my life so much easier. Yeah, it's me. I sigh out, letting the pipe fall to the floor. It smacks softly against the carpet and bounces thrice before stopping fully. I grab a hold of the right handle and pull to open the large metal door. I catch sight of Tom's stubby little face right in front of me, and my eyes roll over to the pipe lying right beside my foot. Lost my chance. Were you two just sitting in this room the entire time? I asked, peering through the doorway. We had nowhere to go, Grace said. Why couldn't you just... I said, but not before stopping as I see a large grate covering the hallway I'd run down. That must have been what made the large thud I'd heard. But where did it come from? The only way was back, seeing as this door was locked. Our only hope really was getting through there, Tom said. Well then, I guess it's your lucky day, I said. And unlucky, because the hallway bends around all this way to the door. There weren't any other exits. Really? Grace asked. I turned to her. No, there's actually a department store inside with a lot of brand deals, I said. No, there isn't, Grace said, honing her eyes on me. Yeah, you're right. You want to see? Feel free, I said, stepping back from the door, gesturing a wide arm sweep to invite them in. They walk in slowly and I lead them through the dark hallway, silent. We reach the chasm and catwalk, eerie green light and all. I step onto the first step and turn around. This is where it mirrors. The catwalk is at the center and it just loops back around. Tom looked down below, through the steps into the chasm. Where do you think that leads? He asked. No, we're not going down there, Grace said almost immediately. We're on a boat, remember? Down is generally a bad idea. I actually think it might be a good idea, I said. What? Well, we're not breached, otherwise that chasm would be full of water. Could be at the bottom. Well then, it looks like we have something to break our fall, don't we? I cocked my head slightly. No, I'm not doing it. Obviously there must be another way. We don't even have a safe way down there. The fact we don't even see what it is down there means it's too high, she said, stepping onto the first step of the catwalk. Obviously you must have missed something in the dark, like a door or something. We can check the other side, she continues up the steps. And maybe we can fashion a sort of rope, or like something from one of the other rooms, I ask, following her up the steps. Tom follows behind. Or maybe something small to toss down to see how far it goes. Or see if we can hear an impact. I heard a slight noise. Wait, stop, I said, holding still. What? Sounds again. A creaking almost. I see it then illuminated by the lantern's light. The chains holding the catwalk are weakening. The thin metal scrapes as it tried to hold on. The lantern rope. We could have yanked that down and used the lantern for a light source. Damn it. The chain behind us snaps as I can feel the catwalk begin to dip. Grace is the first to react as she runs forward, jumping out way too soon, landing face first on the catwalk. The force of her jump causes the whole structure to buckle. The corner diagonal to the broken one shatters off and a piece flies and almost nails me in the face, only missing by a few inches. Run! I yell out. I take a step forward and simultaneously the last two corners snap, and the whole top of the catwalk begins to fall, all three of us with it. As soon as I breach the darkness, I feel a rushing sensation behind my brain. Run, run, run around. Never stop, don't make a sound. Run, run, run today. Never cry, don't delay. Run, run, run around. Keep on running till they all fall down. I see a large open room. It ducks down in the middle where a bunch of children are. There are 5 of them total. I think that I'm one of them. I mean, he has my trademark stellar locks of love, so I mean, it makes no sense. What doesn't is, I have no clue where this is or who these other kids are. One's a girl that looks to be my age with bright blonde hair knotted up in a ponytail. She's crying because there seems to be something that looks like gum that had been wadded into said ponytail. Beside her is a young boy who looks to be only 3 or 4 years old, who has his attention solely stolen by the amazement of such an oddity as a thing with gummed up hair. I'll pen him as the culprit for Miss Blondie's freakout. I see the other one that looks just like me helping her out, pulling some gum out of the young blonde girl's hair. The oldest of the group looks to be a teenager, somewhere around 16 or 17 with dark brown hair that casts onto her shoulders. She tries to end the screaming and the fighting. Dad, please, I can't watch them all day. You know how I am with kids, and Megan here's already given me a migraine, the teen said, speaking to somebody out of view. Kate, I know I'm asking a lot of you, but this was the deal for us to be living here. That you'll babysit so we can keep working, and I can keep food on my plates. An older man's voice said, in a thick and heavy Western accent. I understand that, but how can you expect me to do this for 8 hours each day? Might extend past 8, depending on what this stuff is, and I know that sounds bad, but I'm telling you straight so you don't get disappointed. This sucks. Yeah, well, life sucks. But to make it suck less, we all have to suck it up a little bit and do what we have to. I guess. Hey, it'll be alright. I'll ask Jay and see if his wife, Karen, I think her name was, would be interested in coming out to help you. She's out of work, considering her condition. Okay, that helped a bit. No problem, sweetie. Now, gotta go now. See you at dinner. The girl, Kate, looks down at the floor and breathes heavy. No, you won't, but I appreciate the sentiment. She looks to the ground. Obvious disappointment hung heavy in her face. It seems to not be recognized as the darkness surrounds the scene. It feels almost familiar. Chapter 8. I wake up to a sudden pain in my spine. It travels throughout my body like a tourist in the summer. But unlike a tourist, it's decided to take up permanent residence and has even paid a few of its taxes straight to my lower back. I'm staring upward at a giant hole of rusted metal. All around me, I see a familiar room. It's the large expanse I'd just been in before with a dip down in the center. A thin layer of water remains and soaks the back of my clothes and backpack. I sit up quickly, moving to a standing position but nearly topple over. My right arm is pretty fucked up. I think something sprained. Really can't tell what, and all it kinda hurts. I'm the only one in the room. Grace and Tom must have woken up and left me. Fucking cowards. Just like them, they'll leave me to die, just like everyone else. Makes me want to drink. I look up again at the giant hole and I walk around the room, more trying to see a better angle of it. By the looks of the shape, it looks entirely to have been the ship we were in. It sits safely in what seems to be a gigantic storage room. I came out of a hole that's been torn out of the hull. What this actually reminds me of is one television show I used to watch when I was younger. It detailed the inside of this one museum that had a full-on replica of the Titanic built inside of it. It in of itself was this whole other interactive display. Maybe it's my good old friend Jack Adata here. I reached into my pockets and grabbed at the papers I'd stuffed away. They're completely soaked and the ink began to run. Hold on just a fucking second. Doesn't that one voice in the dream say the name Jay? I mean, this is definitely the room I saw, so maybe that voice with the Western accent is the worker that was supposed to come a bit later. Was this really a dream? I suppose not. I've been feeling weird ever since that woman stared me down. But having these, flashes, I guess it could explain something within her, made something within me, start, react. I don't know, I'm just trying to find out why I knew what this room looked like before I'd even entered it. I do know one thing, though. I have to find that woman. She's the key to all this, it seems. I look around and find myself standing where the girl named Kate had been standing. I turn to where the Western man, Kate's father, would have been standing. There was a ramp that forked off behind a railing leading up toward a sealed door. Right beside the door was an electronic keypad, similar to the one we encountered earlier. I begin to walk toward it, but I hear a sort of slushing around me. I turn, and it seems to follow. I feel its weight upon my back. I take my backpack off my shoulders and upset the main pouch. It seems during my last fall, my last water bottle burst open and soaked everything in my bag. Fuck. I pull out the box of Cheez-Its and set it on the floor. The lower level seems to only be a part covered in water. And it seems that the source was from this crevice in the ship, and that must have just busted through the hole into this room. Doesn't explain how the ship got here in the first place, though. After the Cheez-Its, I grab down to the box of condoms and toss them aside. No use having those now, all they'll do is just take up space. Then I grab at the Stoke shorts and shirt from inside and take them out, wringing out as much water as I possibly can. Finally, I grab down to the box buried at the very bottom, the thing I'm most worried about getting wet. The box itself is damaged, almost beyond use. Fall didn't do it any favors as long as I was being soaked. I slide the top off and rejoice at the papers inside being dry. I haven't looked at this paper. No, that's a lie, by poor detail. Of course I've looked at it, I've seen it, but I've never read it, because what it contains is information that I, for up to this point in my life, have not wanted to know. Do you remember me mentioning about me visiting a doctor at the orphanage I used to be at? Well, of course, you may have been wondering, don't they usually give you like a physical diagnosis or medical report or something? Yes, they did, and this is mine. I didn't want to know what was wrong with me. By giving it a name, I gave it power. I gave it something over me. Control. That is something that I can never give up. If you lose control, you lose everything. But ever since I woke up here, I have to admit that these rampant thoughts have become more troublesome. They are becoming more than thoughts, and Tom was so close to seeing it. But at the same time, he's a med student who might be able to help me with this. Something's wrong with me, and something is making me have these thoughts. Something that obviously drove my parents away, and something that made them never want to come back to their son while he is so patiently waiting for them in Chapter 9, Lewy Body Dementia, otherwise referred to as Parkinson's disease dementia. That was the diagnosis given to me by my doctor. A nut job in person, maybe, but I would assume he had some assertion to his diagnosis. Plus, there's even a symptoms list. Oh, lucky me, lucky me. Chance for fluctuating cognition with pronounced variations in attention and awareness. Recurrent complex visual hallucinations, typically well-formed and detailed. Low dopamine transporter uptake in the brain's basal ganglia, as seen on SPECT and PET imaging scans. Repeated falls and syncope. Fainting. I mean, on my own, I haven't really fainted as of late. Unless... Whoa, hold on there. You almost fell. What? No, I didn't. Let go of me. Okay, Jill, just helping you out. I was so not falling. I'd know. Maybe I didn't know, because I was so focused on one of my other tracks. I mean, why would Tom lie about something so stupid as that? I turn the paper over and it reads prognosis. Oh, goody. I get to hear the inner details of the rest of my life. I look at the paper and it's loaded full of acronyms, numbers, abbreviations. I can't make heads or tails of it and my vision starts to ruin. I need to know now, and the only person who can help me do that right now is Tom. So I have two missions: find Tom and find the girl. And escape, but that's obvious. I roll the papers up and set them in the front pocket of my backpack. I walk up to the keypad and find it has the same numbered keypad as before. I type in the same code as before, 0399, and the keypad screen glows green. I hear the tumblers of the door shifting just like the last time, and it actually rises up, opening the way for me. I walk through to find a hallway that branches off to my right and left. They both turn, so I assume that I'm in some other sort of symmetrical hallway. Just then, I hear a loud burst of sound. Gunshot. There's a loud scream that follows, and I'm taking off running. I head down the right path and follow the way down and see a door to my left. I see an entrance to a stairwell at the end of the path, but before going down, I decide to check the door out. Whatever that shot came from, it has to be close. What? No, it's my gun! You're the one fucking allowed it to come up here. I'm not roaring with shit. Inside, the room is completely empty. The room is an eternal light. It is completely void of anything besides a single sheet of paper sitting in the middle. Conscience tells me to leave it and find the source of the gunshot. Curiosity tells me to pick up the paper. Curiosity won. I grab the sheet of paper in my hands and glance it over. It definitely is another one of the notes from Jack.
Year 0, April 17th, 2007. Mason, shortest, dark brown hair, kept short. His voice has a rough Texan drawl to it. He's got a kid, Caitlin here, that's easy to pick out. Short, long, dark hair, and highest pitch voice here, save for my own Megan. Jay, taller than Mason, hair with patches of gray, voice is a high-pitched, almost New York accent. Gregory, taller than Jay and Mason, shorter than David. Dirty blonde hair reaches his shoulders, voice is average pitch, home accent. Apparently his wife Lorraine works for us as well, but actually she's been stationed over in New York. David, tallest of the group, jet black hair, deepest voice, almost sounds like from Europe. I know their names and their builds. It's been so tough, but I think I finally got it. Thank God. Signed, Jack Adata.
So, this is it then. It makes some sense at least. My parents, they were involved in whatever's going on here. Gregory and Lorraine. No chance in hell that it's a coincidence that those are my parents' names. I mean, I guess I know what it's being done for. Freelance work for NASA, it seems. Something they don't want any official connection to. That's why they hire people like this, Jack and my parents. Keep a paper trail as thin as possible, but still be able to document progress. Never really knew specifically what my parents did for NASA prior. I mean, I really wasn't interested if they were allowed to tell anyhow. But now something here shows they were testing something they found on Mars. That land trade and Daigobu and stuff. Maybe if I can find more of these papers, I can find out where my dad is to go find my mom. Find Tom, find the girl, find who shot the gun. Find what happened to those scientists. These are my objectives, and I guess I need to start with the most time-sensitive of the bunch. I throw the door open behind me and I'm taking off towards the stairwell. Taking the steps 2, then 3 at a time down, and I reach another diverging path. There is a door, but the stairs also continue downward. I contemplate going further down, but ultimately decide to go into the door. I walk into a sort of parking garage. On the ground a few feet in, I see a fallen Grace. She lies in a small pool of what seems to be her own blood. She's breathing slow and heavy, holding her hands to her side. Ah, thank God it was her instead, said Tom, the girl, best case scenario. Oh my God, Gavin, Grace said, pained with obvious difficulty. Quick, what happened, and where's Tom? I asked, jogging up. That woman from before snuck up on us and had a gun. She was spouting some crazy nonsense and shot me. Tom then took out after her down the ramp. Okay, thank you, I said, standing back up and running on. Hey, where the hell are you going? She calls. You two ditched me back there, I said. I can only return the favor. I'm running now without a second thought, without giving my conscience a second to catch up with me and keep me from getting the answers I need. Chapter 10. Down the ramp I see a similar scene, save for a bleeding Grace. Echoing from above the car ramp I hear the pain screams of an animal waiting to be put out of its misery. On the opposite side of the garage is a blank wall empty to the fullest amount. Or would that be to the least amount? To my right is another slope downward to the next floor down. I keep running down as the screaming from above quiets ever so quietly. On the floor below I see a door outfitted with all different kinds of warning signs. It's very old and tattered and most of it's been scraped off, but I can read the Raider room. I hear a thud against the door. Someone's on the other side. I grab the handle and swing it open. A shot rings out and I jump out of my skin. I see a quick trail of a bullet fly past my head, mere inches from lodging itself into my eye socket. Tom spills out of the room and crashes into me. I fall to the ground with him. He's much heavier than I originally pegged him as. Gavin? He sputters about as he jumps to his feet. He slams the door and locks it tight from the outside and looks at me with a wild look in his eye. What the hell happened? That fucking woman from before, from the room with all the beds got away. I saw her when we fell and I went after her. Both you and Grace were unconscious from the fall still. I would have woken you up if you didn't start running away from me, he said, moving quickly to the ramp leading downstairs. I stand and move to follow. What was that? I ask. I caught up to her. She had me pinned down. I didn't know she had a gun. Grace managed to wake up and completely avoid waking me, I said. I didn't know she woke up. You either, to be frank. I had to find that woman. I wasn't even thinking about waking you two, he said. Do you know where she is now? No, I lie, following him down the slope to another floor that looks identical to the ones above. Damn, didn't get a chance to look. Were there any other pathways you ran by she could have gone down? Maybe, but I don't like having that woman so close to us, I said. Right, you're right. Maybe she found her own way. We can loop back around, but we need to be safe first. To be fair, I don't think we've been safe at all throughout any of this, but don't let me talk down your lack of conscience, I said. Hey, if he's willing to talk himself into ditching Grace, I won't interrupt anymore. Alright, I don't like the feeling of leaving, but, yeah, I know. I'm starting to like you a little better, Tom, I said. You don't seriously consider this a good thing? I think it's better her than us, I said. Why? Because I need you, I said, running to a door on the far side of the garage. Come on, you can't be taking that slope all the way down. Need me? For what? He holds the door open so we can slip through behind me. You're a med student. You saw that box in my backpack, right? Yeah, I saw it. I grab my bag as we step down the stairwell that seems to go on for eternity. Just how large of a building are we in? I take out the medical report and hand it to him. I got the main points. Just dementia. I got that. I need you to read me the prognosis, I said. Tom, I need you for little else. I'm gonna tell you straight, I'm letting you tag along because you can help me out, I said. And Grace? He asked. I didn't kill her, no. Well, not directly. She was above us, the floor above us, I mean, when I found you. Shot from the woman, most likely. But I need you to read me that prognosis stat. You're insane. Tom stops halfway down the step. Oh, according to this, yes, but Tom, please, this is important. I need to know how long I have and what comes next. Then I need to find that girl. Find that girl? Why in God's name do you want to do that? I can feel my head start to pound, but this isn't one of those hallucinations. This is just a normal headache. Because I need to find out what she did to me when she touched me, because before all of this bullshit, I didn't ever have these weird-ass hallucinations. Tom, I'm seeing stuff I should be able to see, I said. He looks at me and then down to the paper. This doesn't in any way, shape, or form excuse what you did, he said, and then looks down at the paper. I'm not asking it to. I know I'm fucked up. I want to know for how long. Tom looks back up at me. What did you see in these hallucinations? I'd like to keep walking as we talk, I said. Tom nods and continues moving down the steps, almost as if he'd forgotten what he'd just been through. I guess I could share in his sentiments. Are you coming? I ask, jumping down the stairs by threes. Are you going to answer my question? I saw people who were here before, like that Mason and his daughter and shit. Things like that. Almost like I was looking into a window of the past or something. Tom nods and his pace picks up a tiny bit, but then he turns on a dime. What? What is it? Going back to get Grace, Tom said. What? Why? He hands me back the papers and I take them slowly. He takes in a deep breath and smiles. If you want to know your prognosis, then you're going to come along, and you better hope she's still alive. What? That's so not fair, I scream at him. Think of it this way. You won't get lost finding that girl, but something tells me she won't do much talking. Come on, let's go, he said, running back up the stairs. You've got to be fucking kidding me.